Hey there, welcome back into the Bulldog Blitz. I have the pleasure to be joined by our Bulldog Blitz senior analyst, Eric Brown. Eric, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
The men's football team has sure made things exciting these last couple of weeks. Saturday, they capped off a huge comeback, 1 second left on the clock, and David Lang comes up in the clutch, 25-24 victory. Talk about this win.
Oh, like you said, it was just an absolutely thrilling game to be at. Butler had the ball with under 5 minutes left and actually got it intercepted on the 2-yard line. And then the Butler defense was able to get a stop, and we came back and got a 63-yard drive, and David Lang hit the game-winning field goal with 1 second left on the clock. And that's just an enormous win not to give up, and a great game for the Bulldogs. Great win.
This victory this past Saturday is a season-defining victory, but they've had back-to-back exciting wins. They go out to Kentucky, play Morehead State, and come back in overtime and win. What do these back-to-back huge victories do for the team morale?
Oh, it's absolutely enormous for team morale, but one of the things they have to be careful of is to not get your heads caught up in the cloud, to ignore all the media, because the best teams, it's about responding to success. Good teams are able to respond to adversity well, but the best teams, it's how you respond to success. And you got to be able to stay hungry and stay humble and prepare for Valparaiso in October 17th.
Speaking of Valparaiso, the women's volleyball team played them on Friday. They dropped 3 straight sets, and they could have easily collapsed when Alabama A&M came into Hinkle for their homecoming game, but they didn't. They turned around and swept them in the first 3 sets as well. A statement from the women's volleyball team who's looking strong.
Yeah, it was disappointing to see them get the loss at Valparaiso, who's a very good team, by the way. Now Cleveland State's up a half game on Butler in the standings, but for them to come back and get a big win, a big sweep on homecoming was very nice to see. Portia Allen had a double-double again, and Jessica Wolf also had a double-double for the Bulldogs.
The men's soccer team tied this past weekend. They got IU coming up on Wednesday. This is a very good team. Where do they fit into the big grand scheme of things within the Horizon League?
Well, I really like the way Butler men's soccer team's looking this year. They've got great strikers up front, and Boris Gatsky's an outstanding player, and they've got a good goalkeeper, a solid defense. I like their chances this year. And getting a draw on the road at Loyola, who won the Horizon League tournament last year, it's not the end of the world. Coaches always say in soccer, if you're able to get a draw on the road against a good team, it's not the end of the world.
Gatsky filling in nicely for Patano, by the way, who was a senior last year. Women's soccer team, they're tough. They're tough to figure out. They want to keep trying to break through. They just dropped a game to Milwaukee, 1-0. If they want to be dominant in the Horizon League, they have to compete well against Milwaukee. Now, that's not to say they didn't, but it seems like they're trying to break through and they're just struggling to do that. Yeah,
they really got to put a couple of wins together here. Milwaukee, they are the best team in the Horizon League. They also have the best goal scorer in the Horizon League, and she got a goal in the 20th minute. And Butler they really locked down defensively from there, but they just weren't able to find the back of the net for that equalizer. They played really tough, really scrappy the second half, but just weren't able to find a goal to tie the game, and that's disappointing to see. But it will be interesting to see how we rebound and come back and finish the rest of the season.
Some big news coming out of the men's basketball program. Kyle Marshall was just signed. He will come into Butler next year. That's a big sign for an already touted recruiting class that we have for next year.
Yeah, he's a great recruit. He's ranked 113th by Rivals in the nation. He's 6'6", small forward. He's 200 pounds. He's going to be long, athletic. He's able to finish around the basket, and he should be a good replacement for Willie Veasley after he graduates. We're not losing a ton this year, but Willie Veasley, Avery Jukes, and Nick Rogers will all be gone, so we'll be looking for some players to fill those voids left by the graduating seniors.
Andrew Smith is the only new player we have on the roster this year. Everybody else coming back. What can we expect from him?
Well, he's a big body down low, and it's nice to see. He's an enormous guy down low, and it's going to be good for him to have him to back up Matt Howard, who had a tendency to get into foul trouble. So with him and Jukes and Matt Howard, Butler's got a very good inside presence.
All right, well, thank you so much for joining us today, Eric. We enjoyed having you on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Come on back on the Bulldog Blitz. Lots more to talk about, including the quad meet for the women's swimming and diving team that took place on Sunday. The women's swimming and diving team has officially begun their season after hosting a quad meet this past Sunday. In a meet between Wright State, Evansville, St. Louis, and Butler, the Bulldogs didn't finish as highly as they had hoped, but the meet was highlighted by performances from Stephanie Moles, Megan Wessler, and Nikki Weston. Moles led the way for the Butler distance swimmers, finishing in 7th in the 1,000 freestyle. She also anchored the 400 freestyle relay team that finished in 6th. The Bulldogs will compete next on October 23rd at IUPUI. After all the excitement here last weekend for homecoming, it will be a much quieter weekend on campus with only one game. That game takes place on Friday in the Butler Bowl, and it is the women's soccer team taking on Detroit at 4 o'clock. This game is the season's home finale, as well as senior day. The other fall sports are all on the road. Men's tennis will be playing in the Purdue Invitational, while the men's golf team will be playing in a tournament at IU. That will just about do it for this week's episode of the Bulldog Blitz. Make sure to catch us next week on Comcast On Demand or online at youtube.com/Bulldog Blitz Sports. Until then, I'm Mark Minner. We'll see you right back here on the Bulldog Blitz.